Showtime. Guys, you ready for the MLM presentation? All right. I told you it was a different kind of direct sales. It's one where you get to offend your friends. No. So a little bit of info on this one. So last year, Craig asked me to do a direct sales presentation. And when Craig asked me to do something, I do it. So what I did is I said, I don't know a whole lot about this stuff. I'm playing around with it. But I'll get some people who do. So I had Alex right there on the panel and Katie Cross. Now, I don't know what happened, Alex, because you're a pretty nice guy, but like Katie Cross stole the show, right? She just buried you. But that panel had over $4 million of sales on it that year. Those two people alone accounted for $4 million, right? Yeah. And Alex there selling poetry. Okay? He likes to make things hard. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to help make things easier for you guys. So what I did is I put together a different presentation this year. I've compiled a bunch of different ideas. So what we're going to do is you can use this QR code. If you're not familiar with it, you're going to be sent to a place where you can sign up, and you're going to get access to a Notion template. Okay, and if you're not familiar with Notion, it's kind of like this weird website database thing that you're going to learn to love. And what I'm going to do, if you don't, just make sure you at least take a picture or capture this and so you can look at it later. But what I'm going to spend most of this session doing is going through this thing and talking about some different points in this document I put together for you, because it's a living document that you guys can continue to access and continue to use. And as I come up with more stuff, I'm going to add to it. So this presentation, you've now seen 50% of the slides. Okay. So this is what I think about when I think about direct sales. I don't think about direct sales as a singularity. I think about it as a part of a spectrum. It's a way that we are going to figure out how to extract money from your customers. And I don't say that in a mean way. It's understanding that you guys are in the experience business, and you may not feel like some of the sales platforms really represent your experience. Could that be the case? I bet it is. So in doing this, there's different ways where you can give different experiences to your customers, right? And an understanding that it's like, my analogy is like the Apple phone, right? Like every year they come out with a new phone. Every 4 years it's actually something different. But there are people that are lined up at the store that need to have that phone when it first comes out. 2-3 years later, they're giving you that phone for free. That's because they're extracting value along the way. So what we want to do is we want to start thinking about how you can take experiences and attach them to different sales opportunities and combine this stuff all together. And so the idea here is just to really give you, an understanding of, deliver the experience in each phase. So how many people have done a Kickstarter before? We got a few, right? And I know there's some great people here talking about Kickstarters that have gotten a lot of resources, but you start to see that there's a different kind of experience that happens with it. Yes, you can sell books. Most importantly for me, you can build audience there, and it's a one-to-one connection to that audience. You get their phone numbers and their addresses, and you can deliver an experience that they like, which is being an early adopter of your products and helping you build something from nothing. Then what we're going to spend most of our time here talking about is that direct experience. And I'm going to give you some tools here to help you figure out how you can start playing around with this, because when you look at it, just like with Kickstarter and some of this stuff, it's like, holy shit, this is overwhelming stuff. I got to do what, and it's got to connect to who, and as easy as our friend Damon has made this for us to deliver products, there is some technical stuff we're all going to have to figure out. And then we go into some other, I believe if you're direct, you should be exploring wide. And you should then think about when you go into KU, if and when you want to do that. But changing, it's not an either or, it's an if and when. So, now you've seen all the slides. What are we going to do now? Well, we're going to hopefully switch over to this easily, and we're going to go to this spreadsheet. Now, you don't, you get bored tonight, you can read that. What's in it? Why did you sell direct, right? Let me start out with why sell direct. I touched on a lot of this, and the idea is in my view, when you do it the right way, you have 100% control over your customer experience. If you were to design a landing page to really explain to a potential reader why they should read your book, would you design it like the Amazon sales page? No. Would you have a bunch of other people's books on there as advertising? Would you be selling lawnmowers and insurance? No. And we have to understand that our readers, what we're selling them is an experience, right? That you are taking something, a story you've created, and through words or audio, however we're going to be delivering story in the future, you have that unfold before their mind's eye, and it exists in their head. And that experience is what they're paying for and what they'll keep coming back for. And one of the hardest things that you have as an author is to get them to give you their precious reading time for your book. There's this thing that happens when people go into looking for a book. Initially, when you're a new author, it's a barrier to entry. They would rather read somebody they've already read, even a book they've already read, before trying something new, because they want to have a good experience. The minute we get them over that hump, that gate, now that barrier to entry is a barrier to exit. The same reasons why they didn't want to read you in the first place is the same reason why they're not going to want to leave you in the future. They're like, oh, I love your books. You're putting out more books. I will read those books. So how can we get them to understand that along this process? So you don't have to read that now. I just basically told you the whole story. What you're going to do with this spreadsheet, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the ideas and about what you can find in these different sections. I'm going to walk you through is direct sales for you, okay? And you can go in there, and actually when you go in there, if you answer these questions down here, right, you can go in there and say yes, no, it's going to tell you if it's a good idea for you to do this, right? So I think these are some of the key things that you should be have in your place before you start trying to sell direct. Have you published a book? If you don't have a product, we can't sell it. Are you currently profitable? Direct sales is not a diving catch to make your business profitable. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take extra capital. So if you're not at that point in your career, think about what the best use of your capital is for you to grow your business. Maybe it is this, it probably isn't. Have you run a direct sale in a newsletter? This is a loaded question, because the thing is, well, I don't have a newsletter. Well, then you shouldn't be selling direct. You need to get some early marketing and have a newsletter, because it's so critical for how you drive your direct sales in the future. It's going to be the main point of contact, and you're going to find out, and Alex, you may even know some of these numbers, of the amount of people that buy from a newsletter trigger versus just coming and finding your site. It's much higher. So that's what we really need to do. And I have this question about, have you run a direct sales in your newsletter? Let me ask this question. How many people have never sold direct before but are interested in doing it? Okay. So this is going to be something you're going to want to think about, is before you go and start thinking about designing a website and all this woo-shoo, you're going to want to think about, if you have PayPal and you have BookFunnel, with those two tools, you're going to be able to execute and deliver a sale inside your newsletter. Okay? And there's going to be a process here to walk you through that step by step. And basically, it's directions I've stolen from Damon Courtney. Will I be getting a note from your lawyer? But there's some really great videos there that explain the process, and I've got the links in here so you can go and understand how to get that buy button so that you can put it inside your email, and that, along with a nice picture of your book, right, and a little blurb, becomes your first opportunity to direct sale to your audience. Because you'll be surprised, because I've done this before, to see how many people on your list who may never have bought a book from you before, never read anything you've had, will buy from you direct for one reason: they hate Amazon. So that's going to give you some opportunity to extract value you couldn't before. Scroll up here. Required services. We got a bunch of sections here. You really need to be doing email marketing if you're going to be following my kind of strategies around this, because that's going to be where you build a relationship. That's where you're going to be able to follow up and help the customer understand the value that they can get from this, especially if you don't go the full Monty and put in something like a Shopify site or WooCommerce. I've got some details here for the different services. Any of these will work well. Some of them have some other advantages if you're doing more sophisticated stuff. But I know this from my own research. 70% of authors are using MailerLite. You don't have to change, okay? You can continue to use that. In fact, MailerLite has some pretty robust e-commerce information. Like if they buy the book on Shopify, it will tell you they bought the book, and then you can trigger an automation about what they should do with that book. Like, hey, I saw you bought my book. Would you like to get some emails that are going to give you my kind of director's notes and a read along and help you to have a better experience? And you could build within that some really cool tools like, hey, when you get to chapter 15, read this email. When you're done, click on a link and I'll send you the next email. What did you just find out? They're reading your book, right? These are things that we can start doing inside of our email systems and inside of these tools now that we have ability and visibility on what your customer behavior is. And now a lot of people are going to be like, you know what, Solari, I don't want you to know anything about what I'm doing. I'm just going to read my book. That's fine. But those that want to have that next level experience, you can start providing that stuff and making this whole thing so much more valuable to them. All right, so that's it on the email piece. You need email, it's good. Delivery and fulfillment. I want to talk about three pieces to this. The main piece, digital and audiobooks, while there are some other ways you can do it, and some of these platforms that I share have functions within them to do delivery of electronic things, I want you guys to be using BookFunnel, okay? Not because I like Damon Courtney, not because he's got kids to put through school, but because we have a way of breaking the backs of the sales platforms. Because what is the magic of this thing, in my view, is that all of you can have your disparate stores and sell all your books, but the experience from the customer, if it is all inside BookFunnel, it's a homogeneous experience. It's just like when they go into their KDP or they go into their Audible account. They see all their stuff together and they have this really cool experience. And I can tell you this from my own experience, because when we do this on our direct sales site, most of the time we'll get an email. It's like, wow, I didn't know I had all this stuff in my BookFunnel account. This is cool. So I really want to stress the point of us thinking about this from the customer experience, and the fact that they're going to see this in this one place is going to be really helpful for us to give a combined experience. Now, just today, Shopify, and I'm going to talk about Shopify in a minute, Shopify announced they're doing a global search function in their shop app. Now you're like, what are you talking about? Huh? They have an app called Shop, which is like a store, right? And what can they're trying to get people to have a way that people can buy without on their device by going in that. Now, one cool thing they did, and they've been doing this for a while, is if you get your customers to go buy through that, they get a 1% rebate that doesn't come out of your side. So they get a little bump in price. But what's really interesting about this thing is they just announced they're rolling out global search. So that means by going into that shop app and searching romance books, it's going to bring up all the romance bookstores. It's becoming a marketplace upon itself that you get to control price and fulfillment. This is the holy grail. You want to be part of this. So this is awesome. We got. I just talked about electronic delivery, but now we got to talk about physical books. There are functions for doing POD. I know Lulu is here. Lulu has some great solutions. There's Book Vault that is also here. But one of the things that you need to think about is how you can take back all of your product and make it a homogeneous experience, right? So, for example, the client that they sell middle school books, and their solution that they're offering isn't just getting your kids to read, it's helping reluctant readers. And the idea with these history books is to bundle them with a physical book and an audio book. And now, because of the way that you can control that experience, you can have that as one product, right? And you can explain a solution to a really pressing problem in certain families, and that is they have reluctant readers that they need to get these kids reading books so that they learn, so they do better in school, so they're not living in a van down by the river. And so when you start talking about things that way, not like, hey, I got a cool book about World War II, you get a different kind of reaction and a whole different level of conversion rate, because you're really addressing a problem, not just trying to throw features at that person. So we've got some ways you can do that. And with Lulu, you can actually set up your books inside Shopify. Okay, so inside the store, you can actually be uploading your books and doing, not necessarily, setting up the format, all that fun stuff. And it becomes kind of a one place for you to do that. And if you go through here, you'll see I've got different sections on all of these for you to dig in and follow some directions. It's going to load a little slow with the internet here. But we've got all the different ones here. You can see them coming up here. There's also merchandise, right? I'm a little opinionated about merchandise. I think it's great. I think you guys, if you're really writing great books, you'll make way more money selling books than you will selling coffee cups. But when you start building an experience like this and you use some of the functions within a software like Shopify, what can happen is you can start doing things like running loyalty programs, right? So people buy books on your site, you award them points, they can use those points to buy coffee cups. And if, in my view, if you never sold a t-shirt, but you gave $10,000 worth of t-shirts away in your loyalty program, you're probably making a lot of money, right? But again, the important thing is going up to that higher level. What is the experience that you want to deliver, and having the tools to deliver it? And on both Printful and Printify, why I've got them both here is because depending on the mix and match of products, like literally anything you want to make and put a logo on, they have at these places between the two of them. And you're just going to probably want to work with both depending on what you're thinking about putting out there. Cool? Who likes money? Only 7 people like money? God, you're in the right. There we go. Well, if you want to get paid, you got to have a payment processor. Most of you probably already have PayPal, right? You're using that to pay vendors. PayPal is an adequate solution. In fact, what I've found, PayPal tends to be a preferred solution for a lot of folks. PayPal money seems to be like weird, funny money, like casino chips, that people don't really treat it like other money because, well, I made it selling stuff on eBay, so yeah, I'll buy some stuff from you. So I think that people tend to be a little more free with that discretionary income. But there's some other solutions. There's Stripe, and then there's Shop Pay. So if you're going to end up using a solution like Shopify, then you're going to use Shop Pay. It's just kind of the easiest way to do it. But for some of these other things we're going to talk about, other platforms you might use, you may opt to go into using Stripe, which becomes what collects the payment and clears the credit card and does all that fun stuff, and then eventually puts the money in your checking account. With direct sales, this fundamentally changes the game on cash flow. First off is margins, right? And second is how quickly you get paid. right? So typically it's 2 working days to get paid through any of these services. Not 60 days, 2 working days, right? Here's the other thing. There's no reason why you can't run your pre-orders here. Hey, Damon, what happens when I run a pre-order and I have it hooked up to BookFunnel?
It delivers the day that you tell it to.
Oh my God, I don't have to do anything. And what happens if I have a dog that gets sick and I don't hit my deadline?
It doesn't deliver, and it waits for you to deliver.
Amen. Right? And by the way, you got paid a long time ago when they bought the pre-order because you charged them there, right? And then you deliver it. So you could start pushing forward your cash flow in a whole nother way that authors have never been able to do. And that means that they're basically starting to work like a Kickstarter where people are paying you up front so you can be paying your editors and your cover designers sooner. You're not carrying the load, right? This is what we call leverage. It's good, right? So these are the kind of things that are you don't see when you're initially looking at this. You're like, oh, it sounds like it would be better not to deal with that guy at Amazon or whatever. But like, there's some really powerful things that are going to change fundamentally how your business makes money and retains money. Testing out your audience. This is the thing I want to spend a little time talking through. If you're going to come away with one thing on direct sales, if you've never done it, this is the experiment to run. Have a book or a box set or something that you can sell. Create a PayPal button in PayPal that you can then put into your email, right? So when they click on that, it's going to tell them to get into their account, they'll get the money. PayPal will then tell BookFunnel when you follow these things. They're pretty straightforward. There's great videos on it. And then it will deliver the book to the person. And if there's any problem, you take that email that you get sent from the customer and you forward it to help@bookfunnel.com. And they deal with it, right? So you're not taking on a bunch of customer service issues when you do this. But the real idea of this is for you to get a feel for your audience before you spend 3 months building out a website and the whole idea of build it and will it come. Because here's the part is you're going to have to teach people new behaviors. And this is a great way to do it. I've got some clients that before they launch they don't want to have a store. That's not their thing. Before they go into KU, for a couple weeks before that, each week they send out the opportunity to buy the book direct because they know they have a huge amount of customers that don't have KU and don't want to buy from Amazon, and they scoop up those sales early. It's not going to be a huge amount of money, but it's getting that experience right for all your customers, and that's what we're trying to do. If you do this a few times and you're not getting a response, it's probably a pretty good indication you don't have the audience, and you're going to have to start thinking about building an audience from scratch that's direct. And that's going to cost money to do, right? You're going to have to bring people to a direct site and build that. And that may not be something that's right for your business right now. All right. So down here we can go into all of the different options that I've got here, and when you pop into any of these, you'll see that there's a whole page on it that goes through a bunch of stuff for you to look at. I want to hit on 2 big categories. There's these non-store options. So when I talk about store options, I'm really talking about Shopify and WooCommerce, and I'll get into those. I'll talk about Kartra really briefly for anybody that's in nonfiction. I think it's a really good solution. But PayPal, PayHip, and Gumroad, these are services that do kind of all-in-one packages. They allow you to build pages. They're not a separate store per se, but for going into sales, this may be the first best choice for you. PayHip, one of the big features, is anybody using PayHip? One, got a couple. What's nice about it is they process your taxes, right? So we'll jump ahead on this one. This is the one thing why people typically used as an obstacle for doing this. I don't want to do all the work of paying taxes. It's all the sales tax stuff. Okay? That's okay. Like, I hope that you have to write out massive sales tax checks for every state. That's a high-class problem. Okay? There's software that does this. There's these things called accountants you can hire to do that work. Okay? That's the thing you want to do, is come at this with the idea of, you know what? If I have to pay sales tax, I will. Now let me talk about that a little bit deeper so you understand. Based on the Wayfair v. South Dakota Supreme Court case, pretty much every state's adopting that. So it tends to be around $400 or 100 transactions that you should have to start paying sales tax in that state. Every state is different. A good thing to follow is the state that you live in, file and collect sales tax, okay? Beyond that, monitor when people are paying it. For most places, if you get over that threshold I just talked about, then you need to start like remitting sales tax and dealing with those problems. But again, I see those as high-class problems. In some states, like Illinois, where I'm from, they're so lazy, like if it's not more than $100 in sales tax, they don't want you to file. Like, we're not gonna get out of bed for $100. Our problems are way bigger than $100, right? So like, check what the rules are for the places you play. We've had it with several clients where this thing is spun up really quick, and we've started to use things like TaxJar, and there's Avara, and there's a few other solutions where you can start getting that sales tax collected. You still have to report and remit, but they do a lot of that reporting for you. So I'm sorry I got a little bit off track, but I want to make sure we hit all this stuff because we got 13 minutes. So ThriveCart is another interesting solution because it does sales page and upsells and a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to help increase your order value, and it's a one-time fee. So I think it's $650. There's a link here, but you buy it once and you have it, and then you hook up your Stripe to that or your PayPal, and you then becomes the way that you process it. You can build really cool landing pages, and it's an older tool, and it's known to be a cart. So here's the thing. Let's say you got a WordPress site. You got a beautiful WordPress site with all these nice pages with the books, and you got some buttons to send people. Maybe you're just sending them to Amazon, or maybe you're, other stores. You can go create a ThriveCart button or a button in your WordPress that sends people to a ThriveCart for that product. Now, the weird thing about it is you got to build a cart for each product, but you can get a website spun up to buy really quickly, and maybe you just try it out on a few products and see if people will come to your site and buy. So that's a tool to look at. Now, store options, I've got 3 things here. So who's here a nonfiction writer? Okay. I would look at a tool called Kartra. It's what I use. When you go into it, initially you'll be like, it's like $150 a month. And you're like, what? It does everything. It's your email provider. It's your calendar scheduler. It's your landing page builder. It's your membership site. By the time you're done, you'll probably get rid of 3 times the amount of software. And you can sell products in it. You can sell electronic products, and you can also, through Zapier functions, you can trigger things like BookFunnel and other sites. But I do believe for nonfiction people, especially ones that maybe you're making most of your money off of upsells or consulting or contract, it's a really, really elegant solution. And it's powerful because you get to see everything that's going on. You have the power of Amazon with this thing because you're seeing what pages people are landing on, how long they're spending there. Yes? I think it's a little overkill if you're not doing all that stuff. I mean, if you want to build out websites or build out membership sites and some of that, I think you could get away from a little bit less the The part that is a bit of a drawback is it's not the cleanest solution connecting to BookFunnel right now. Yeah, it's doable. I did it, but like it's not as easy as some of these other ones. So, did that answer your question? Okay. We can talk about it later. Yeah, check it out. It's your choice. And I guess this will answer more of that. Here's some of the things you can't do with Kartra that you can really do with Shopify and WooCommerce. And let me talk about the difference in the two. So WooCommerce is a plugin for your WordPress site. It's free. I guarantee you by the time you start putting plugins into this thing to make it work the way you really want it to work and do some of the things, you're going to be paying money. It's inevitable. It's very powerful. It's very flexible. Problem is that it starts to get to be a space project. Like there's things got to work together right. There can be, when things go wrong, getting help can be a problem. So I think for authors, unless you're really comfortable with that kind of stuff, the obvious solution if you want to go a full-blown store is something like Shopify. And here's where this addresses some of that why not Kartra, this one. Shopify has got some amazing tools that you can do to make your store have the look and feel of other stores. So you can do also bots, you can bundle products, you can have enormous control prior to people or when people go into the cart and upselling to them inside the cart, right? So hey, if you like this, maybe you like that. Or post-sale stuff, and whatever combination you want to do. What you tend to find when you build these stores, and I'll use the store that we've done, which is an audiobook site, your customers are going to tell you what they want. We initially, when we launched this audiobook store, the series we started with already had 5 books out. And this was an idea. This is the last time he's getting credit for it. After this, I'm going to take this idea as my own and say it's mine. But Will Dagus from Shopify or Spotify, Findaway Voices, said, well, offer them the books that they already have in Audible in BookFunnel. So ask them to send you a screenshot of the books they own of that series in Audible, and then if you send me that, I will re-image it in BookFunnel so you have the whole series. So we did that, and first off, we got an enormous amount of intelligence because people don't just screenshot that, they screenshot the whole page so you see everything else they're buying. So that's a nice little piece of information. But the second thing is we had actually 2 people come to us and say, well, how many books are going to be in this series? I want them all now. So from that point forward, every time we launch our audiobook series, after the first book and we see the success of it, when we get ready to launch book 2, we've already talked with the author and determined the number of books that are going to be in that series. So our first offer is a bundle of books 2 through 9, if it's a 9-book series. Right? We know they bought the book from us. Would you like books 2 through 9? No? Okay. How about book 2? I downsell them into just a single book. So I get 2 bites at that cherry to see about getting a sale. You can't do that on Amazon, right? You go in their cart, they go in their cart, they're going to be offered birdseed and weird shit that has nothing to do with so now again, you get to control that experience in a way that hasn't been done before. So there's a lot more in here. There's a ton of stuff I can't even cover in a 45-minute session, and what I would ask you to do is 2 things. Use this tool, it's yours. I'm going to be continuing to add to it and filling in the holes. If you have things that you would like seen add to it, email me and let me know. I offer sessions every Thursday for free. You can book my calendar at joesolari.com. If you want to go through this and ask questions about this, just one-on-one, please book a session. They are free. I'm not going to sell you anything. Just be warned, you're not going to get a session until February. This is my 3rd time in a session talking about this, plus I dropped it in the group, so they fill up pretty quick. But I have them all year round. You can do it, you don't have to do it just around the conference. You can do it in January. You can do it in June, whatever. So that's the first thing is help me to make this a working document for you guys. And the second thing is if you have any questions with the last 6 minutes we have, they want you on the hot mic so the people at home can hear your voice. The code? Code? Oh boy. Yes. Yes.
Hi, I'm using PayHip, and I am having a very hard time training my customers to buy my previously published products. The interesting thing is I ran an exclusive launch for a short story, and they all came out in mass. But once that kind of everybody purchased that, it kind of dropped off again. So I'm wondering if you have any tips for continuing to train them besides previous launches to buy the backlist.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think it's probably the hardest thing because we're so impatient. Like you want this to work now, right? And the problem is it's a behavioral change. It's a complex behavior change that we have to train them. And I was talking earlier to some folks and using bonus material and free stuff to get people to keep coming back and like, hey, if you, and it's a great way to keep them engaged, right? And have different things that you can do and understand that it's going to take them 3 or 4 or 5 times. And one of the things we did is, so the initial offer of something free to get them over was really traditional book funnel. We land them on a book funnel page, get it, you're done. Now we have their email. The next thing is like, hey, I got another free book for you, but I need you to use a coupon over at my Shopify store. Here's the coupon, right? And teaching them that and doing that. So that might be something you could do with the PayHip is like make some things that like get them to use that and be comfortable with it and train them like dogs.
Awesome, thank you. Because I've just redone my automation sequence, and every few weeks they get a new goodie bag, which is where they get the stuff for the bonus stuff for the series, but they also get coupons to go with the books. So I just started it though, so I don't have any feedback for it.
That is awesome. Just trust it. Just
Okay.
believe in 6 months' time you're going to be like, I'm the one that came up with goodie bags.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, this is just really quick. Shopify, does that handle the taxes? That was where I was going to type next before you closed it down.
So Shopify, you can turn on and tell it to collect the taxes and to calculate the taxes, but you're going to have to do some steps after that, and you're going to have to remit the taxes and you're going to have to report the taxes. And that's either a manual process or you pay a service to do that. TaxJar is really well integrated into that, where for most states, once you like, you can even pay for it ahead of time and it'll tell you, listen, you better start planning on paying taxes here. But it's the solution that most people end up using. And here's the thing with that, right now it's kind of expensive, but it'll come down because it's going to be a competitive market. You know, this is the thing that where Amazon, you know, butters the bread on both sides, right? For decades, they were screwing over small business by not charging sales tax and using that to drive customers there. And now they're trying to keep all of us captured by saying, well, you don't want to go calculate sales tax. We'll do that for you. It's dirty.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? 2 minutes and 29 seconds.
First of all, love Notion. Second, you mentioned things like Shopify. I didn't see Squarespace anywhere in the set. Thoughts on Squarespace as it compares to any of the others for building out?
Yeah, so if you couldn't hear him, you're talking about Squarespace?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's Squarespace, there's Wix. If you're already there and you're kind of living that dream, then there's nothing wrong with doing it. I don't know about delivery of products. Damon, do you have any comment on that?
Wix and Squarespace require us to sign really long contracts in order to integrate with their services, and we have lawyers poring over them right now because they, like Wix, has clauses in their contract that sort of intimate that maybe we'll have to hand over 30% of our subscriber revenue if we allow you to connect your Wix store and your bookfunnel account. So we're just making sure that all of our ducks are in a row before we can announce something like that. It's all
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Damon.
I've had some success selling bundles of paperbacks on my website for the last year. I go into the back of Amazon and I order author copies and I have Amazon send them, which is 5 minutes work, but I do think about maybe getting rid of that work someday. Do you have any thoughts on is it Book Vault or are there other things that you might recommend?
So the folks from Lulu you're in the, raise your hand, Lulu people, right over there, guarding the water cooler. Just talk to them. I was out there over the summer and they've got an impressive setup. And they've got a lot of solutions. They may not be the best at expressing all the stuff that they can do for you. So explain what you're trying to do and see if they can build that out for you. There's going to be more and more opportunity for you to do things like start mass printing and finding fulfillment centers. Right now I'm working with somebody that has gone and, because they sell a lot of print books, they've gone and done a print run. And they're actually fulfilling out of a warehouse. Can I share where? Yeah. Okay. So Alex has another business where, because he has his own warehouse and has been doing his own books, he's doing fulfillment for people that are, you have to have there's a threshold here. Like, you have to be able to do your own print run. He's not going to do that for you. You got to go buy the books and consign them to his thing. But we're developing the solutions to do fulfillment like that, right? So one thing that we're doing is an author I work with, he's got all his co-authors signing books. They print out cases and cases of books, and they're going to move them in for fulfillment so that we can sell signed copies without these guys having to go do it and hope their kid puts it in the mail and all that shit.
Thank you.
That's it. We're done. Go get a drink.